The Battle of Gettysburg, a turning point. In late June of 1863, Confederate General Robert E. Lee marched his troops into Pennsylvania, a free state, in hopes to win a battle on Union soil. Abraham Lincoln, the President of the Union, was frustrated with his best general, Ulysses Grant, who was fighting at Vicksburg, while the famous Robert Lee came to attack Union soil. The North began to panic when rumors spread that Lee was coming, and so was another Confederate cavalry force. Lincoln quickly made a change of generals by making George Meade new commander of the Union Army of Potomac. The Union had such little time to prepare for the Battle of Gettysburg. However, by the night of June 3, 1863, Union troops got into position for battle after marching for long distances. Over the next 3 days, Gettysburg would change from a little-known farm town in southern Pennsylvania to the most famous battle site in American history. Two armies, the Confederacy and the Union, battled outside of the town of Gettysburg for 3 harsh days. The result? The Union won the battle. However, the battle was devastating for both sides because of staggering amounts of casualties. But why was the Battle of Gettysburg such a turning point in the Civil War? The Battle of Gettysburg was a turning point during the Civil War because of the amount of casualties, discouragement of defeat, and the location of the battle. The amount of casualties, documents B and D. In document B, it shows the extreme amounts of soldiers dead, wounded, and missing from both sides of the Battle of Gettysburg. The Confederacy had lost as much as 4,500 men by the time the battle was over, whereas the Union has lost 3,155 men. The Confederacy had 12,800 wounded men by the time the battle was over, whereas the Union had 14,530 wounded men. The Confederacy had 5,250 missing soldiers, whereas the Union had 5,365 missing soldiers after the battle. As you can see, both sides suffered greatly with the total amount of 48,040 casualties. However, the Confederacy suffered much more than the Union because its entire army consisted of much less soldiers. Furthermore, President Abraham Lincoln wanted to express his feelings about the battle and Civil War through his famous speech, the Gettysburg Address. In document D, Lincoln talks about the amount of people who died and quotes, "From these honored dead, we take increased devotion to that cause for which they gave the last full measurement of devotion." Lincoln proves that soldiers' high amount of deaths during the Gettysburg battle left many wives and children grieving. But instead of grieving, people must stay loyal to what their soldiers fought for with devotion, of risking their lives. Overall, the soldiers lost their lives for the cause of what they thought was right, which was something many more people were inspired to do after this battle. Discouragement. Document C. The discouragement of Robert E. Lee, the Confederacy general of the Battle of Gettysburg, was massive, for he had let down himself, his army, his country, and his president. In document C, Lee sends a letter on April 8, 1863 to the Confederacy president, Jefferson Davis. In this letter, Lee explained that the public journals at the result of the expedition has daunted the Confederacy army and assumed the Union will win the battle. Out of embarrassment, Lee asked the president to supply his place, or replace him, for he cannot accomplish what he himself desires. As you can see, the Union victory was not expected by Lee, and for that he is very discouraged of his fight during the battle. This battle showed Lee that the Civil War is going to be much more difficult to win than he imagined. Furthermore, it proved that Lee did not have a big enough army to attack on Union soil again, for more than 1/10 of his army died during the Battle of Gettysburg. Overall, the discouragement affected how the South viewed the Civil War and taught the South to never mess with Union on their own land again. Location. From the background information, the Hook Exercise, Gettysburg. The main part of the location of the Battle of Gettysburg was that the battle took place on Union land and proved that the Union would not give up to Lee's army on their territory. However, there is much more to the location of the battle. In the background information, we learned that the Union troops had established their position on much of the higher ground around Gettysburg. When the Confederate troops came, they had to jump over fences to get to the Union army, whereas the Union was able to simply shoot below them at the struggling Confederacy soldiers. This was a huge benefit for the North that affected the result of the war. Furthermore, the Hook Exercise Gettysburg map shows how surrounded the Union was, with troops coming at them from almost all sides. The Union Army continued to stay strong even though their main, best general, Ulysses Grant, was not there to lead the troops. This proves location made the battle a turning point because it showed how strong the Union was when defending its territory, even with little time to prepare and a new general. It also showed that using natural resources such as a hill played a major role in the battle and the Civil War. Conclusion. Overall, the Battle of Gettysburg was a huge turning point during the Civil War, even if it was just one of many battles. Its amount of casualties proved how each side wanted to win, how strong each army is, and that winning the Civil War would not be easy. The battle left a discouraged general, Robert E. Lee, who now knows that he does not have a big enough army to fight another battle on Union soil. Lastly, the location of the war proved the strength of the Union obtained and how far they would go to protect their country under any circumstances. Overall, the battle was a huge turning point in the Civil War and will forever be remembered in American history. The End by Megan and Claire.